This never ends. So they want to hear the new law in this country. So basically, before that they didn't know, the Guards and the politicians, they didn't know, could they do it? Could they ban mass? Could they make it illegal to have mass? They didn't know. So then the fine for the PJ before that €500, and they didn't know. When they went to the Garda press office, nobody knew was it illegal, were they right in doing it, and they did it before they even knew they were not allowed. But again, they got the go ahead now that it's illegal. Did you ever hear such crack in your life that they're saying that mass is illegal now? You know, just think about that for 2 seconds. Think about the penal times. Think about this. Think about this for 3 or 4 seconds. Think about the penal times. It's illegal. It's illegal now, and you could end up in prison saying the mass. And they're threatening Father PJ now with prison. What can be said? Forgive me, sorry, I just had to do something here. But it's just mad. It's crazy that they're threatening priests going to prison and fining them for saying mass. To only a few people. Again, it's a small parish, Mullaghone. Few people, maybe at most 30 people probably would go to his mass. And again, that's not a big risk. Again, people going into Aldi and Little and everything, that's a big risk. And I don't see the guards saying close down Aldi and Little and the rest that. You don't see one of them around it. And again, if it was fair to every religion, it's not fair to, the bias to some religions and not fair to other religions. Other religions are getting off with going to mass, and nothing's been done about it, and nothing's been said. It's been very hush hush. But again, with the Catholic religion, they want to take God out of the picture, and just want to have man as control over everything. And that has never worked out in the past. And especially coming up to Holy Week, again, I wouldn't be surprised if the Guards be at Mullaghone, like as they did the other day. They disgraced themselves, the Guards, by checkpointing and stopping people from going to mass in Mullaghone. But it's still went ahead. They weren't successful. They were successful in stopping people from other places going to mass, from coming to Cavan to go to mass. But that was totally wrong. That was totally wrong, because everybody's entitled to religious worship. And again, we're the only country in Europe, and again I keep saying this, but we're the only country in Europe that has our churches closed. And now it doesn't have ridiculous law and banning it, and just outright banning it, and not saying it's so much for democracy. This reminds me of communist China, to be honest with you, doesn't it? It sounds very familiar, doesn't it? Banning things, putting people into concentration camps. Doesn't it sound very familiar? It does sound very familiar. I don't think the Catholic Church is allowed in China. I don't think so. No, I think they're banned it. Yeah, I kind of see now the similarities there. But again, you have to make up your own mind. But again, this is totally wrong. Let's be honest. Having a few people meeting us halfway, allowing 30 people into the church for mass. At least you're meeting us halfway, and you're like, giving us halfway. But again, the government of this country don't want to hear about it. They're just like, no, we don't want it. We hate it. No, good God, no. Why would we want Christians in churches praying for forgiveness and praying for a better tomorrow? We wouldn't want that. No, God, no, we won't want that. And notice this too, how the politicians years ago, they would have been saying, to say a prayer, and pray, for hope, and pray for a better tomorrow. But now the politicians here don't care about praying or anything. They don't ask people to pray, for a better tomorrow into that, because again they're all against Christians, and that's just putting it straight. All these politicians that are out, and a vast majority of them, completely gets the church and completely against everything that the church stands for. And this is why it's happening. They're not really too bothered to stand up for them. And that's the thing. Only a few TDs like Matthew Maguire's on fire challenging the government. Danny Healy-Way, Mikey Healy-Way, the two Healy-Ways. And then obviously the Clare TD, Micah McNamara, he's on the wall. And then there's a few others, Catherine Donoghue, an independent TD for the Midlands. But yeah, there's people challenging the narrative. But yeah, this is just a disgrace. Banning. Like literally I couldn't, and this is the thing, they didn't know beforehand that they handed that the fine to Father PJ, and they didn't even know. At the time they didn't even know it was illegal or not. And it's totally against the Constitution what they're doing. Again, out of everything, lockdowns again is against the Irish Constitution. Nothing but the lockdown, but a national emergency, health emergency. It says about wars and rebellions, but it doesn't mention health, public health, and that's simple stat. It doesn't mention it. Which is not unless they have an amendment to the constitution that don't. It's not constitutionally. It's not feasible in the constitution. Let's put it that way. The same as the church. It says you're allowed to your freedom of religion, freedom of assembly, freedom of religion. And there's nothing that can really stop you. If it's in the constitution, there's nothing that can stop you from it. Because that's your inalienable rights, and that's your what is given by God. In other words, that's what the constitution really is. But it's given by God to the people, to as rights. But yeah, take care of everybody, and we see what happens. Not going anywhere without take film, because outright ban it. Like, what else can be said?